Comprehensive Comic. Beginning of God on Earth. Chapter 1. In the city of Tama, which is famous for its mascot, there is a quiet castle called Sanctuary Sakuragaoka, nestled in the mountains and forests. In the residential area near Sakuragaoka Sobu High School in the Sanctuary Sakuragaoka, in an ordinary three-story building. It's a sunny time and early in the morning. Good morning, wind, it's time to get up. The slight coolness of his lips and the slightest movement on his face made the young man next to the pillow slowly open his eyes. Long silver hair came into view, and two playful hairs were beating in front of his eyes. A delicate and beautiful face immediately appeared in his field of vision. Good morning, Chong, are you hungry? Night Wind rubbed Dome's head as usual, smiling gently. Then Night Breeze got up and changed into formal clothes and put on an apron, and began to cook for him, his titular sister Kasuga while Dome. I don't know how many times I repeat this kind of daily routine every day. Counting the time, it has been 4 years since the Kasagano couple who adopted them died. His real name is Night Wind, and when he came to this world, his body degenerated into a baby for unknown reasons. At that time, if it weren't for the Kasagano couple passing by and saving themselves, Nightwind estimated that he wouldn't survive that cold night. Originally, the Kasagano couple also gave him the name of Kasagano Wind and treated him as their own child. It's just that he usually likes to use his original name. Therefore, the name Nightwind became his nickname. Chong was the daughter born to Mr. and Mrs. Kasagano shortly after adopting him. After the death of Mr. and Mrs. Kasagano in a car accident 4 years ago, Dome also moved to his house completely. And this one, I haven't moved out until today. I'm going to high school and I don't have a shadow of a golden finger at all, so how did I cross in the first place? While cooking, Night Breeze also muttered about the Goldfinger as always. Until now, he hasn't seen the shadow of the golden finger at all. Is this really a pure physical crossing, and a chance to live again? But even if it's just that, I'm still alive and well, and I still have a lot to worry about. Night Breeze retracted his thoughts, skillfully brought the meal to the table, and then went to call the Dome in the house to come out for breakfast. Hearing the sound of the night wind, Dome also walked out of the door holding the black rabbit doll. His appearance and figure are still very young and immature, but he is also particularly attractive, wearing only a thin pajamas. The loose suspenders slid down to the arms, and the snow-white shoulders and collarbones were unreservedly displayed in front of the Night Breeze. In the face of the scorching eyes of the night wind, he was not shy, and naturally walked to the table and took a small bite. I don't know how many times I've seen such a scene, but every time it's still so imaginative. Thanks to the fact that he can usually go to other places to vent his fire, otherwise he might not be able to suppress the gun for so many years. Although there is no golden finger, it is okay to have a sister and a house like this, and the Dome is also a particularly capable sister. Nightwind shook his head, throwing evil thoughts out of his mind for a moment. At least for a while, for the last birthday of the Dome before the completion of the year. Chong, school starts today, have you thought about going together? No, I don't want to go out. The crisp voice of the Dome followed, and the answer was not as unexpected by the night wind. Since the death of Mr. and Mrs. Kasagano, Dome has been staying at home, and it can be said that he has autism. She basically ignores everyone but herself. Fortunately, I have survived in the past few years, otherwise I might have to take my sister back to my hometown. You must know that houses in the city here have to pay taxes, and they cost a lot of money every year. Because of their kindness, the Kasagano couple did not have much savings. Even if the other party loses a lot of money, after the funeral for the Kasagano couple, there is not much money left. The daily expenses and miscellaneous things added up, and he was in the state of a teenager at the time. If he wasn't mature enough in his thinking, it could be said that he couldn't afford such a responsibility at all. And it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have the capital to survive by eating soft rice and some people's funding later. In the past few years, I have published a few light novels, and now the situation is not as bad as before, at least the money is enough to spend. I don't need to worry about these things now, which is a blessing in misfortune. Dome is also very smart and can teach himself online, maybe more than I know. Even if she stays at home for the rest of her life, I'm willing to raise her, so don't worry about this aspect. The night breeze that went outside a few times in his heart, and his attitude towards the dome was also resigned. The windows of the rooms on the second floor reflect the soft curves of the dome. She caressed her pure white dress with a little undulation, and her beautiful eyes stared at the night breeze leaving. As usual, it wasn't until the figure of the night wind completely disappeared from her field of vision that Dome reluctantly withdrew her gaze. She turned around and sat on the swivel chair in front of the computer, bit her lips lightly, and whispered with a slightly red face, "Wind, come back quickly." Quote. Nightwind didn't know that after he left, the dome was especially cultivating the no-chanting water magic. He was heading to the place where he was going to school today, which was the Lisabu High School in Tama City. This world is not a single world in his cognition, but a mixture of many worlds. The situation in the world is similar to that of Nightwind, but the history and the present situation are different. There were no wars in many countries, but they lived in peace with each other in a strange manner. The area where he is located is belonging to the Neon Island country, Tama City, Chiba Prefecture. With the passage of time, the memories of the original time travel have blurred a lot. He couldn't tell what the future would hold, but one thing was for sure, the world was dangerous. Because in the history books, the Demon of Guns landed for the first time in November 1983. This is also the reason why the Night Wind looks forward to the system day and night. He is also an ordinary man who can pull several cars in a row, and he has no idea if he will survive in the future. He didn't want to be out of control of his own life, and he didn't want the people he loved to die in front of his eyes. In recent years, there have been fewer records of demons appearing, so maybe I can spend my whole life safely in this demon city. Quote. The night breeze walking on the road couldn't help but sigh. He didn't even believe in this sentence himself. The dream is very happy, and the reality is very skinny. Without strength, it is extremely difficult to live even simply. Hiss. Halfway down the road, the night breeze stopped, the tip of his nose twitched slightly, and he took 2 more breaths of fresh air. He could smell a faint smell of blood in the air. In order to have a good body over the years, he has had strict training since he was a child. In addition to being talented, the small horse-drawn cart also needs to be exercised, otherwise it would not be so easy to eat soft rice. His physical fitness is not much better than that of a soldier, but it is also much better than that of an ordinary sub-healthy office worker. It seems that because of his rebirth, he is also better than ordinary people in all aspects of his perception organs, and his sense of smell is naturally more sensitive than that of ordinary people. Therefore, even if there is only a faint smell of blood, the night breeze can smell it keenly. Following the faint smell of blood, the night wind came to a dimly lit alley. Even though the sun was shining in the early morning, the light in the alley was still not good and dim, and it was impossible to see anything in the depths. And that trace of blood wafted out of it. The smell of blood is coming from here. Could it be that there is some kind of murder? Dark corners like these are the most likely locations for homicides, and it's entirely possible that someone will die. After thinking about it, Night Breeze took the backpack in his hand and walked slowly into the alley. It's not that he has any sense of justice, it's mainly that it's close to his home. If it is really a murder scene, it means that the murderer is wandering nearby. For the sake of himself and Chong, he had to confirm the situation and call the police as soon as possible in order to make himself feel at ease. It would be a problem if the murderer ran to his house, and he didn't want to threaten the dome at home. As he went deeper into the alley, the smell of blood grew heavier. The smell of blood came to his face, making Nightwind even more nervous. He had not seen a real dead person so far, and at most he had seen a body covered with a white cloth in the hospital and sent to the morgue. Thinking of this, he stopped and hesitated for a moment. Eventually, the night breeze crept back into the alley. He didn't want to retreat, he didn't want to run away because of his fear. The hard life has been carried over, what are you afraid of when you go into an alley? As if to cheer himself up, the night breeze is encouraging himself in the bottom of his heart. Grabbing the backpack in his hand, he quietly came to the corner of the alley. Click. Click. Nightwind thought it was just a corpse, but at this moment he heard a strange chewing sound. Resisting the fear in his heart, he poked his head out of the corner and peeked into the alley. I saw that in the corner of the darkness, a huge and hideous dark figure was lying on the corpse of a man and feasting. Ding. The basic activation energy collection is complete, and the starter pack is detected. Is it open? Turn on. Ding. Starter pack opens. Get. I heard a sudden series of voices ringing in my head. The moment he heard the newbie package, Nightwind subconsciously shouted. Even if it's a small sound, it's very noticeable in the silent alley. The monster that was gnawing at its body turned sharply, and the bat's head and hair looked especially terrifying in the dimly lit alley. Bat Demon. Nightwind's eyes widened and he muttered in a low voice. He imagined that he would see people kill people at most, but he never expected to see demons. Hee, another human. The Bat Demon let out a low voice, and its fierce blood-colored eyes locked on Nightwind. Nightwind was surprisingly not so frightened that he couldn't move. The body instinctively moved, grabbed the backpack that had been prepared in his hand and threw it out. A backpack full of school supplies can be a big deal. The Bat Demon who had just turned his head had not yet stood up, and there was a sound of breaking wind in front of him. Bang! The backpack hits the Bat Demon right in the head. The Nightwind did not hold up, and took advantage of this opportunity to take a step, and quickly escaped from the alley. The set of movements was smooth, just in the blink of an eye, and when the Bat Demon stretched out his claws and tore the backpack that smashed into his face, the Nightwind was long gone. I remember your smell, you can't run away. A cruel and pleasant smile opened into the corner of the Bat Demon's mouth. He didn't act immediately. After all, he had suffered a loss not long ago. If you weren't lucky, you might have died at the hands of a magical girl in this city. On the other side, the Nightwind that escaped was running fast, and he felt that his body was so good for the first time. With the morning sun shining on my body, night breeze feels as if my body has come to life. This warm comfort from the inside out makes the night breeze can't help but squint his eyes. Wow. Dachshund. The barking of dogs wakes up the night breeze that is drunk in the sun. Looking at the brown dachshund barking at his feet, he was very affectionate with himself, and Nightwind couldn't help but lean over and touch it. Tick tick tick. The car's horn sounded. A pitch-black sedan was approaching at a fast pace. Looking up, Nightwind realized that he had actually come to the road. I just ran out desperately, and the strange feeling that came from my running body at that time caused me to not pay attention to running over my head at all. Looking at the approaching car, Nightwind lifted the dachshund at his feet and hurriedly dodged. Bang! A pain in his left foot made Nightwind frown. Even if he dodged in time, his left foot was still scratched by the car. The force of the car's collision was not light, and it almost swept the whole person out of the Nightwind. But after a stumble, he barely stood still and slowly sat on the side of the road. Wong wong. As if to understand that Nightwind had saved his life, the dachshund affectionately stuck out his tongue and licked the palm of Nightwind's hand. You licking dog. Rubbing the dachshund's head, Nightwind looked up at the black sedan that hadn't stopped at all not far away. I didn't stop when I had a traffic accident, and I thought I was touching porcelain. Even if I did touch porcelain, at least I had to come down and see if I was hurt. After a few mutters, Nightwind ignored it, looked down at his left foot, lifted his trouser leg, and saw a layer of skin broken on his ankle. There was a tiny scar, almost a centimeter long, from which blood oozed out. Other than that, there was only a slight bruise. Huh. Nightwind was surprised to see such an injury. Because the injury is so light. He thought his left foot was broken just now, but he didn't expect it to be just a little skin. And over time, the wound heals at a rate visible to the naked eye. In just 10 seconds, the wound on the outside was restored. The contusion under the skin is also recovering rapidly, and it is estimated that it will not be long before the dragon and tiger will be alive. Thinking about it, even if I was scratched by the car, I didn't fly out directly but just stumbled, which is already outrageous. Nightwind suddenly remembered that he had just opened the newbie package, and he didn't have time to check it in a hurry. After the system was officially activated, the functions of the system were automatically summarized into a stream of information that flowed into his memory. Nightwind uttered a silent voice and summoned the system log. Ding! The starter pack is opened, and you can get Kryptonian gene, nano Superman suit color and style can be adjusted at will. The content is simple and crude, and the night breeze can't help but be ecstatic in his heart. What kind of Kryptonians are? That's Superman. Even if it is the Superman in the movie version, when he becomes an adult, he has the power to easily destroy all mankind and cleanse the surface. This is not even the idealistic Superman in the comics. Before crossing by himself, Nightwind remembered that Superman was the strongest enough to blow up the six-dimensional multiverse with one punch. And this is far from the limit of Superman. Superman is truly without limits. Although he doesn't know which version of the Kryptonian gene he obtained, even if it's the movie version, he's very satisfied. Not to mention the system's other capabilities. The harsh morning sun pierced through the clouds and splashed on the ground. After having a clear understanding of his body, Nightwind could clearly feel that the moment the sunlight touched his skin, it turned into a warm current that continuously strengthened his body. Every cell is greedily absorbing the energy of the sun's radiation. It's like a piece of pig iron in a furnace, being burned and forged by an iron hammer to form a piece of refined steel. He can feel his strength improving all the time, and this feeling is simply intoxicating. The body under the school uniform also began to gradually change, and streamlined muscle lines emerged. The already handsome appearance has more three-dimensional beauty of knife and axe. And that's just the beginning. Why, you're okay, do you want to take you to the hospital first? The immature and lovely female voice sounded, waking up the night breeze immersed in the sun. When he opened his eyes, Night Breeze saw a girl in a school uniform with a slightly red face, looking at him with a little surprise in her nervous eyes. Light peach hair is shoulder length, slightly permed and tied into balls. The pink jacket and denim shorts are bright and youthful. Nightwind looked at it a few more times and remembered who the girl in front of him was. She should be Yui Uehama, then this dachshund is hers. Looking at the silent Night Breeze, Yui Yuki's expression was particularly nervous. In her view, it was the Night Breeze that suddenly burst out of the alley and saved her saber dachshund. Finally, Nightwind patted his trouser leg and stood up and said, "No need, take care of your dog next time." Quote. "That's my contact number, I think you still have to go to the hospital first. I'll pay for the medical bills, thank you for saving my puppy." Yui Hibahama breathed a sigh of relief as she watched the Night Breeze get up. Then she hurriedly stopped the Night Breeze and said what was in her heart. Nightwind didn't refuse, and exchanged phone numbers. A black sedan drove by the side of the road, and two women sat in the back seat of the car. One is a long black straight girl wearing a school uniform and a bumpy figure, and she has the temperament of an eldest lady in the past. The other is an urban beauty who looks like she is in her 20s. With short brown hair and black eyes, she can be seen in a bright black and white maid outfit. The maid moved to the city with the eldest lady, and as a maid, she fantasized about wonderful encounters. This time, he noticed the Nightwind talking to Yui, and the maid's hands couldn't help but caress the giant in front of her. Her face was slightly red, her eyes widened, and she stared straight at the figure of Nightwind. Good. What a cute boy. The car drove by quickly, and the maid quickly got up and squatted up, looking at the figure of the Night Breeze in the distance from the back window of the car. She exclaimed excitedly, "See, miss, there's a super cute boy just now, and he looks like he's hurt. Chew jaw, pay attention to saliva, saliva." Quote. Nagisa Kazuha looked at the excited Nagasaka Hatsuka and reminded him softly. Wiping the saliva that flowed from the corners of his mouth, Nagasaka Hatsuka turned his head to look at Nagisa Kazuha and said affirmatively. "The lightning of fate tells me that I have found the time for love and wonderful encounters. But didn't the boy just talk to another girl? They might already be a couple." Quote. Nagisa Kazuha said with a calm expression, instantly shattering the illusion in Nagasaka Hatsuka's heart. Nagasaka Hatsuka collapsed on the seat with no energy in her head, muttering in her mouth. "Good, so bad. I was even more discouraged by my taste for being only interested in little boys." On the one hand, she is approaching the age of 30, and her desire for emptiness, loneliness and coldness is increasing. On the other hand, because of her XP, she hasn't had a boyfriend for so many years. Nagasaka Hatsuyoshi fell to his seat in a distraction under the double blow. Looking at the appearance of his own exclusive maid Nagasaka Hatsuka on the side, Nagisa Kazuha couldn't help but be curious about the boy just now. It's a pity that she just glanced at it in a hurry, and she didn't see the other party's face. As the sedan drove away, the Night Breeze could no longer be seen from the rear window. The night breeze in the mouth of Nagasaka Hatsuka now says goodbye to Yui Yuhihama and walks alone on the street. Do you want to go home? No, even if you can't see the bat demon, you can be sure that it must be chasing you. The night breeze whispered in a deep voice, and immediately gave up the idea of going home. Not only can he not go back now, but he has to go to school, to a crowded place. As the amount of sunlight absorbed increases, his whole body is developed, and his brain is included in it. His vague memory gradually became clearer, and he remembered the meaning of the city's name. I have to go to school. I'm afraid it's because of the magical girl here. That bat demon didn't dare to slaughter in the open. The night breeze then turned around and headed in the direction of the subway station. On the premise of acquiescing to the other party following him, Nightwind also wants to get rid of it. The bat demon hiding in the high part of the building watched the night breeze walk into the subway station, and his face suddenly showed unhappy emotions. HMPH, I'm really good at hiding, but it's a pity that the bugs don't use hiding far. The bat demon pinched the small student ID card in his hand and knocked it, and with a slight pinch of his claws, he completely shredded it. Then his figure crept into the shadows, as if vanished. Entering the subway station, Nightwind pinched the muscles of his arm. Before, he could only be said to be a little white face, and his body was not strong enough. And now his muscles are visibly bulging, and his body is straight, and the clothes on his body are stretched out with streamlined muscle marks. I don't know if it's because he's an adult now, so the efficiency of absorbing sunlight and the speed of getting stronger are particularly fast. It's like a hungry man gulping down food and water, trying to fill his stomach. Every minute and every second under the sun, I can clearly perceive the changes in the cells of my body. The power is rising by the minute, and the mind is becoming more and more active. As an old scumbag, he recalled the topic he couldn't know, and he actually had some clues at the moment. When he got on the train, Night Breeze felt a kind of confidence in his heart. I may have the ability to punch that bat demon to death now. Nightwind doesn't know if it's real or fake, but it's probably an illusion caused by the power of the skyrocket. But despite this, with the continuous rise of strength, the night breeze is getting more and more confident, and the whole person has become more confident and sunny. Especially when a smile rises at the corner of his mouth, it will attract the eyes of the women around him. Even when standing in a crowded crowd, the night breeze stands out as if you were standing in the spotlight. The surrounding crowds will subconsciously avoid the night breeze and be on the train in the early morning rush hour. Wherever the night breeze went, there was a wide path. Ignoring everyone's curious gazes, he walked straight to the window where the car was located. Sunlight shines through the glass window, shining on oneself and continues to be absorbed by cells to strengthen the body. This feeling of getting stronger all the time makes the night breeze a little obsessed with sunbathing all day. Wait. Just as the doors of the next stop are about to close. A cry of urgency woke up the night breeze. A long, straight black girl in a school uniform was running fast. Bang! Because I was in a hurry. As she approached the door, the floor was too slippery, and the girl fell forward instantly. Leaning against the night breeze by the car door, seeing this, he reached out and dragged the girl who almost fell in. Night breeze looked down at the beautiful girl in her arms, her eyes closed, her delicate body trembling slightly, and she had not yet recovered from the panic situation just now. Because of holding the girl's body, the night breeze knows very well the other party's devilish hot and explosive body. With an angelic and delicate face, she closes her eyes and looks scared, just like a frightened rabbit. Under the conservative school uniform, the white skin that is a little outside is particularly eye-catching. Her long, warm purple-black hair exudes the fragrance of flowers. The girl waited for a moment, but found that no pain had hit. But after an intimate warmth came from the front of her body, her beautiful eyes trembled slightly and opened her bright and moving eyes. Looking around, she found herself inside the train. The train also started, and I was relieved to see that I had caught up with the girl. After a long sigh of relief, the girl realized that she was now leaning on a man's arms. She had never been so close to a boy before, and her delicate fair face suddenly turned red with shame at a speed visible to the naked eye. But the introverted and shy girl only struggled slightly, and didn't do much more. That attitude of wanting to refuse and welcome made the night breeze cry and laugh. Don't be so afraid, I just helped you. Hearing the sound of the night wind, Gui Yanye, who had been keeping his head down, raised his head. She was greeted by a face close at hand, and she was so ashamed that she lowered her head again. The good cultivation made her not scream in panic, but quickly calmed down and whispered. My name is Gui Yanye, thank you very much for your help. Between the words, Gui Yanye's earlobes became ruddy. The whole person didn't dare to move at all, for fear that the night wind would make other moves. Gui Yanye, the first time we meet, you can call me Kasuga Wild Wind. It's just a gesture, if you can you ask for a phone number? I can get in touch when I have time, I really want to get to know such a beautiful female classmate as you. Quote. The night breeze showed a bright smile, with a touch of sunlight shining on his body, like a righteous and awe-inspiring Superman. It's just that he is now more like a wolf who deceives the little sheep, both in deeds and in words. And as a little sheep Gui Yanyi, he has no idea about it. She nodded shyly, not at all refusing Nightwind's request. On the one hand, she herself is not very good at rejecting others. On the other hand, she also has great curiosity about the handsome boy who helped her in front of her. After a brief call, the two did not communicate much. Gui Yanye blushed and lowered his head, stunned in place and did not move. The night breeze also protected her easily, lest anyone around her stretch out his salty pig hand. I saw the night breeze of the tall man and the clear outline of the muscles on his body. The man who originally looked at the cowardly Gui Yanye had some ideas, and he couldn't help but restrain his heart. It didn't take long until the train stopped, and Gui Yanye hurriedly got off the train and left. She is usually picked up by her mother, but this morning her mother was not free, so she came to take the subway by herself. The night breeze was unhurried, and while familiarizing himself with the ever-surging power of his body, he walked forward slowly. As your power increases, so does your control over your power. Night breeze felt the slightest change in his body. The power that allows him to control his physical body at will should be the biological force field. It's just that he's only been in the sun for a short time now, and he can't convert his passive biological force field into an active skill. But this saved him some trouble. After all, being cautious all the time is not the life he wants. After exiting the subway entrance, Night Breeze looked up ahead. His gaze kept looking into the distance, and he could even see the small font of the trademark over there from a distance of several hundred meters. Some of the myopia that I usually have in code words is now better, but unfortunately other abilities have not been able to be used. Quote. Even though attempts have been made to use thermal sight, they have been unsuccessful. It may be that the energy accumulated in the body is not enough, and the sun is still too little. Slowly came to the vicinity of the school. Looking at the locked school gate, the Night Breeze simply did not enter through the main entrance. He snuck to a corner of the school wall, tapped his feet on the ground, and jumped nearly 3 meters high with just a little force. The wall, which is just over 2 meters high, is easily jumped by the night wind. Looking at the wall behind him, Night Breeze had a new understanding of his own changes. He had heard the movement around him just now, and there was no one in the parking lot of the school. After landing, just as the night wind had heard before, there was no one in the area now, only cars parked here. Night Wind glanced at the surveillance probe in the corner, picked up a stone and threw it out. Bang! The stones flew out like bullets, piercing the camera with a flashing red light. The Night Breeze swaggered out of the grass. As he was about to leave, he caught a glimpse of a black sedan. From the depression in the corner of the car, it can be seen that it is the one who hit me before. If you want to say that you are very angry, you don't feel that way now. After all, you can be regarded as the first to cross the road. If he was just an ordinary person, he might have turned away. And now he wasn't, and a tyrannical mood spread in the heart of Night Wind. For a moment, he even wanted to do whatever he wanted, find this car owner and pinch him to death. But the Night Wind finally suppressed the terrible thought. On the one hand, his own strength is not enough, and he acts recklessly. On the other hand, he didn't want to really go on a killing spree, because that wouldn't make sense. You can't be controlled by power, and your current psychology is just a sense of expansion brought about by the explosion of power. Quote. Night Wind clenched his fists and groaned in his heart. He then looked at the black sedan in front of him. Although I understand what my current psychological situation is, I still can't suppress my tyrannical emotions for a while. It just so happens that the monitoring here is broken, and he can also vent and see how strong his body is by the way. The next moment, the figure of the night wind jumped out like a cheetah and ran to the back of the car. He put his hands together and stabbed into the iron sheet of the car like a sharp blade. The hard iron shell of the car is in his hand, and it is as fragile as A4 paper at the moment. The fingertips of the night wind easily pierced through and tore the shell of the car, and as he exerted his muscles, he was stunned to lift the entire black car. Immediately, the night wind aimed at the trees next to the parking lot and threw them out with all his strength. Bang! There was a roar of explosion. The black sedan fell from the sky and was pierced by trees, completely turning into a mass of scrap metal. Standing in the parking shed, the panting night breeze watched this scene excitedly, and the blood in his heart gushed out. I can throw out a car weighing at least 1 ton like this, and my arm strength is definitely several times higher now, but it's a little out of strength. Satisfying his desire for destruction, the ecstatic night breeze quickly left the scene. The loud noise here also ushered in nearby security guards. Seconds after the night breeze left, the security guards patrolling the surrounding area arrived here. Looking at the black sedan hanging from a tree, several security guards looked at each other, completely unaware of what was happening. How did this car fly in the trees? In the end, the puzzled people could only report the truth and ask someone else to deal with the matter. At this time, the night wind had already run to the vicinity of the school's number 2 teaching building. Not to mention that this school is quite big, he is a little lost when he runs now. Night breeze looked around, it was the opening ceremony, and there was no one around. Let's report on it when the ceremony is over, lest there be no shadow on the first day of school. Quote. Nightwind muttered, but his mind was on the system he had turned on. A scribbled attribute panel appeared in front of him. Name: Nightwind Kasuga Wild Wind. Race: Human, Kryptonian. Talents: Energy absorption, currently able to absorb the light and radiation of stars to grow, evolve, awaken abilities, recover from injuries, etc. Body of steel, can currently resist the damage of sharp weapons. Super strength, your strength can barely throw a car. Super speed, your speed is faster than that of a cheetah. Power points: 0. Is there anything else besides this? Nightwind glanced at the main attribute panel and looked elsewhere. He searched for a long time, and finally gave up. I don't seem to have the slightest intelligence in this system. In addition to this property panel, he found a repository of abilities. This warehouse is not his impression of a carry-on backpack, where he can't put any objects, only the ability to put concepts. As for how to use it, Nightbreeze has been watching it for a long time and still has no clue. However, the collection and use of energy points, Nightwind is seen to explain. There are 2 ways to collect energy points. One is killing. He used to eat and slaughter chickens and ducks, and he had obtained energy points, but they were so pitiful that they didn't show it. At the same time, even if you don't kill yourself, as long as the corpse is fresh enough and close enough, you can collect some energy points. Today, because of this, plus the energy points accumulated by myself before, this is the system that activates the dormancy. And the second way is to naturally recover, or absorb the energy of the world. This method is very slow, and it is not clear how much the night wind grows in a day. Anyway, I am afraid that it is the level of the decimal point. At present, the only known use of energy points for Nightwind is traversal. You can spend a different number of energy points to randomly travel to worlds of different intensities. The original sleep of the system should have been caused by the excessive energy consumption of bringing oneself into this world. A minimum of 1,000 energy points can travel through a random low-level world, and 10,000 points is of the medium-level world. Nightwind's eyes shine with surprise, and it is also one of his dreams to travel to different worlds. At this point, he has a general understanding of the capabilities of this system, and there should be hidden abilities that he hasn't discovered yet. Phew. Phew. At this time, a rapid gasp suddenly came into the ears of the Night Wind. Night Wind, who couldn't figure out the system for the time being, let go of the idea of continuing to study. He walked in the direction from which his wheezing sounded and walked that way. Walking through the wall of the number 2 school building, at the corner of the night breeze, I saw a figure squatting on the floor in front of the flower bed. More than 10 meters apart, Nightwind saw the identity of the other party clearly. Brown-red shawl, long hair, under the black school uniform is petite and delicate but unexpectedly plump figure. The familiar and cute face reminds Night Breeze of the past. Nightwind stepped forward and looked at Yuko Yoshida, who was sitting on the ground with dizzy eyes and a face flushed from panting, and completely confirmed the identity of the other party. Yuko, are you alright? Quote. That. Do you know me? Yuko Yoshida breathed weakly and looked at the Nightwind in a daze. Nightwind reached under her armpit and gently picked her up. The softness that overflowed from in front of him made Night Breeze's heart shake. Yuko Yoshida is light and terrifying, but she has such a terrifying weight. I'm afraid you don't concentrate all the nutrients in your body on these 2 lumps of fat. The Night Breeze that complained in his heart first carried Yuko Yoshida to a cool place, so as not to cause problems in the sun. After touching her forehead, and after finding that she was just tired, she said with a sigh. I'm Kasuga no Kase, I should have known you a long time ago, when Yuko was still in your hospital bed. Quote. Oh. I remember, you're the brother who shared my milk, long time no see. Quote. Yuko Yoshida reminisced and remembered the picture in her memory. Although she didn't remember the previous memories too clearly. But at that time, Yefeng ran to her hospital room and talked to her about the experience. Yuko still remembers it very clearly. At that time, Night Breeze would come over every day to chat with him and share a bottle of milk for himself. That's the best thing I've ever drunk. Yuko, what's wrong with you? Seeing that Yuko Yoshida was about to take a few breaths when she said something now, Nightwind suddenly felt very distressed. In addition to her pity for the beautiful girl, her current appearance is very much like the Dome many years ago. But at that time, the Dome's physical fitness was much better than the current Yoshida Yuko. Yuko Yoshida's face was flushed, and she replied in a very cute whisper. Well, I'm lost, and I can't breathe. Quote. Lost in school, you're really not an ordinary person, are you first graders? A girl at the intersection saw Yuko and Nightwind sitting in the shade of a tree. After hearing the conversation between the two, I couldn't help but sigh myself. Yuko hasn't reacted yet, why is there an extra girl in front of her? The words she had just spoken in response to the Nightwind had consumed most of her strength, and now she didn't even have the strength to answer. When Nightwind saw the girl in front of him, he replied casually, I came to school on the first day, but I'm not lost, I'm just late. Quote. You are so good at saying that you are late. The black-haired girl smiled heartily and gave a thumbs up to the Night Breeze. She's looking bad, should she go to the infirmary? Quote. The girl looked at Yuko worriedly, after all, she was still panting for breath and sweating on the top of her head. Then please lead the way, pretty beautiful girl classmate, I don't know the road very well. Quote. Ha ha ha, don't praise me like that, I'm just an ordinary girl. You're really handsome, I've never seen such a handsome boy like you along the way. The two of them were simple and polite, and Nightwind also learned the name of the black-haired girl. Her name is Anri Sada, and she is also a freshman who has entered the school. She was supposed to go to the opening ceremony, but when she passed by here, she heard a noise here and came over to see that she met Night Breeze and Yoshida Yuko. Although she is a freshman like Nightwind and Yuko Yoshida, she has obviously done her homework. She at least figured out the location of the school. Oh, that's high. Yuko Yoshida, who was carried on her back by the Nightwind, looked down and was suddenly startled. Only then did she realize that Nightwind had been squatting to talk to her before. While thinking about it, Yuko Yoshida peeked at the ground again, and her brain became dizzy. For her, such a height scares her very much. The instinct of fear made Yuko grasp Nightwind's clothes and cling her soft body to Nightwind's back. Your guts are too small, although the Nightwind classmate is indeed very tall, but on your back, don't be so afraid. Anri Sada smiled and chatted with Yuko, and the two became acquainted. Yuko Yoshida blushed slightly, as if she was also shy about her timidity. Along the way, Anri Sada was alone, and took the initiative to talk to Yefeng and Yuko, she was really familiar. It's just that they haven't known each other for a long time, but Night Breeze also talked with her very happily and became good friends. Under her leadership, Nightwind didn't take too many detours, and soon carried Yuko to the infirmary. After the door opened, a beautiful doctor in a white coat appeared in front of the three of them. Short orange hair and emerald beautiful pupils, combined with her delicate and beautiful face, show her capable temperament. Noticing the arrival of the night breeze, the female physician stood up with a quiet smile on her face. What's wrong, is it hurt? After the female doctor got up, her tall figure was undoubtedly revealed. Under the loose white coat, even if there is a layer of pink underwear wrapping, it still can't hide the hot figure. Especially now that the night wind is very strong, he can clearly observe the graceful curves of the other party. As she walked, the uniform on her body was pulled closer to her body. With its rounded curves and perfectly outlined traces, this beautiful scenery is fleeting, and it is all in full view of the night breeze. If it weren't for the horror in his eyes now, he wouldn't have noticed these charming little details. In contrast, Yuko Yoshida and Anri Sada are the little girls of the real little girls. This is the real adult. It's not right. Although Yuko's health is not good, but nutrition is still hoarded to a certain part, it's also the size of an adult. Ideographic period. The soft touch on the back just now tells the night breeze all the time that Yuko Yoshida is not as young as she seems on the surface. It's the girl behind me who is not feeling well, her health is very poor, she just can't walk, I don't know if she has heat stroke. Quote. Night breeze didn't lose his mind for long, and reacted quickly. He carefully put Yuko Yoshida on the hospital bed behind him and explained out loud. Yuko Yoshida, who was lying on the bed, was very shy, and she didn't know how to repay the other party for being so helped by the night wind. It's really strange that you are so weak that you are still alive. It's as if some force is holding it up. But you didn't suffer from heat stroke, drink plenty of warm water, lie down here and rest for a while and you'll be fine. Quote. The female doctor observed Yuko Yoshida and quickly made a diagnosis. Her eyes were surprised and curious, a case like Yuko Yoshida, she had never seen before. Yuko Yoshida lowered her head shyly, took the warm water handed by the night breeze and drank it in small sips, not daring to speak. Then the female doctor turned her head to look at Nightwind and Anri Sada, and said with a smile. You're all freshmen, aren't you, and I'm only recently on this star. My name is Ryoko Mimon at this school, and you can all call me Dr. Mimon. Quote. Hello Dr. Mito, I'm Anri Sada, this is called Kasuga no Case, and it's Yuko Yoshida on the bed, please advise. Anri Sada enthusiastically introduced them to Night Breeze. She saw that Yuko Yoshida was shy, and directly introduced herself for the other party. Ryoko Mito nodded slightly, her eyes scanned a few people, and finally stopped at Night Wind. Kasagano-san, you're in good health. Ryoko Mito stepped forward and patted Night Wind's chest gently, a curious gaze flashing in her pupils. Quote. Maybe it's because I exercise regularly. Quote. Night Wind was silent for a moment, and prevaricated back with a very normal rhetoric. Ryoko Mito didn't continue to ask anything, but just smiled at the night breeze. If you feel that something strange is happening to your body, you can always come and contact me. Well, if there's any problem, I'll come and have a look. Quote. Night Wind nodded, looking very serious. Later, after leaving the infirmary with Anri Soda went to the venue to report with Night Breeze. It's late, but now it's a good reason. On the way over, a few drops of sweat came out of the palms of Nightwind's hands. As the physical fitness continues to improve, the brain becomes more and more active, and the memories of the past become clearer. Just a brief recollection, Nightwind remembered the identity of Ryoko Mimon. The worldview of the princess has also been integrated, and she has come to this school. Quote. Nightwind doesn't know if Ryoko Mito has found something. But in terms of the other person's personality, there is no need to be afraid of what the other person will do to you. Just considering the impact she brings, Nightwind's mood is a little urgent. Compared to real aliens, I'm still too weak now. At least in the face of not having the strength to protect myself, I'd better bask in the sun in peace. Nightwind secretly decided in his heart that he couldn't be too reckless now. Holding on is victory. Originally, because of the continuous increase in strength, a sense of expansion was also deeply suppressed by the night wind at this moment. It seems that the idea of becoming an ancestor may have to be postponed for a while. And when Night Breeze and Anri arrived at the venue, the opening ceremony was already over. The next class was random, and with the class number drawn, Nightwind came to the first grade D class. For this grade, the school is divided into a total of 6 ABCDEF classes. Looking at the students who kept coming around, I have to say that the number of students at Sobu High School is really large. Because of the late arrival, the Nightwind lottery is also at the back. By the time I got to the class, the seats in the front row were almost full. Night Breeze didn't care about this, and directly found a position in the last row. Anyway, for him, it's all about sleeping and fishing, and it's better to be in the back row. Hehe, I didn't expect us to be in the same class, so please advise Kasagano in the future. Quote. Looking at Anri who was greeting him in front of him, Nightwind also nodded gently and replied. Then please advise me in the future, Anri-san. Quote. Kasagano-san, you're more direct than I thought, but it doesn't matter for the sake of you're so handsome. Quote. Anri Sada said with a grin, and there was no shyness on her face. While the two chatted for a while, Nightwind also found that his desk was empty. The stationery documents that were originally prepared were all put in the backpack. Because of the bat demon, he now comes to school empty-handed. When I go back, I have to spend money to buy some learning tools, and it's troublesome to think about it. A touch of ruthlessness flashed in the eyes of the Night Wind, and he couldn't let go of this bat demon no matter what. The other party's sense of smell should be very good, and maybe they can smell their own smell on the dome. It's best to get rid of this demon before you go back from school. As long as it might threaten himself or the firmament, he won't let it go. In the following time, the Night Breeze who has been hiding in the back row to fish, even if he didn't do anything, his handsome appearance still attracted the attention of many people. The composition of the class is also more female than male, and I am one of the few boys. Because of his silence, no one came to disturb him. However, a few girls came to say hello, and the Night Breeze responded very gently and softly, leaving a good impression on them. As for the boys, it doesn't matter, and Night Breeze doesn't bother to get involved in their group. Yui Yuihama, who met in the morning, sat at the two tables in front of her, and she didn't dare to come over to say hello because of the morning. Diagonally opposite is Anri Sada, who has a smile on her face all the time, but the table mate next to her doesn't attract much attention from others. That faint sense of existence, if it weren't for the fact that her perception ability has become stronger, she may not even be aware of her existence. It was a girl with short hair, and at first glance it looked ordinary. But if you look closely, you will find that her facial features and face are upright, and she is not short or tall. The skin is delicate and fair, and the convex place is convex, and the concave place is quite concave, so it's a very cute type. Sage Wei. Nightwind looked at the beautiful woman beside him and couldn't help but read softly. Noticing that Nightwind had discovered his presence, Megumi Kato asked in surprise, "Are you talking to me?" "Well, sort of, after all, you're my tablemate, get to know each other." Quote. Night Breeze took over the conversation and said with a smile. Although Megumi Kato was surprised that Nightwind could notice him, the expression on his face did not change much. Kasagano-san, my name is Megumi Kato, why do you call me Sage Megumi? If you make a slip of the tongue, you should take it as such. Quote. This mistake was so bad that he said his name, and Megumi Kato didn't believe it at all. This kind of title is obviously a nickname. However, he only met the Night Wind just now, and the other party seemed to be very familiar with him. Could it be that I knew him before? Even with such a question in his heart, Megumi Kato didn't ask it in the end. She is not a person who likes to get to the bottom of things, as if she is always calm. After returning from school, Night Breeze also understood the situation in the class. A class of 60 people in total, familiar people appeared one after another. Because of the long time that has passed, his memories have been forgotten, and he has to recall them again. The Night Breeze is not in a hurry. As the sun gets longer and longer, his brain is also developed, and the memories in his mind become clearer and clearer. Today's first class is world history, and the teacher is a tall, slender woman with slender legs, long waist-length cherry hair, flush bangs, and sideburns dressed in a twisted shape. Dark business attire, dark hip skirt with black heels. The beautiful figure and proud curves of the beautiful teacher are vividly displayed. As soon as he entered the classroom door, he caused a sensation among the students present. However, when the other party's blue eyes swept towards everyone, the students suddenly fell silent again. The other party's temperament is particularly cold, and his serious expression makes the students below fearful, as if he has seen Kazuya Shinomiya, who is also an ice beauty. My name is Kurisu Mato, and I'll be your history teacher from now on. After writing his name on the blackboard, Kurisu Mato began to lecture in earnest. Although the night breeze tried his best to avoid his presence, he was still noticed by the other party several times when he was basking in the sun and fishing. After all, he doesn't have any books in his hand, the desktop is quite neat, and his sturdy body looks like a school bully who often fights. I don't know if it's because of the handsome appearance of the night wind, although Kurisu Madong has set his eyes on him several times, but in the end he still didn't make it difficult for him. At the end of the class, the teachers who came behind were all women, and they looked quite familiar. Night Breeze was not surprised by this, the school was still a girls' school the year before last. It was only because of the lack of students that the enrollment was expanded later, and there was no gender restriction. Nightwind's attention is not on the school and the teachers, he is now most concerned about his own situation. The enhancement brought by the absorption of sunlight by kryptonite genes should be evolved in the most perfect direction. His muscles did not grow indefinitely, but remained at a very golden ratio, just like the perfection of ancient Greek sculpture. While not losing masculinity, it looks extremely handsome. With such a look and figure, it caused the only boy in the class to complain. Ben came to this school and saw so many beautiful girls, and they also had the intention of looking for a girlfriend. But as soon as this class ended, many girls gathered around the night wind and ignored them at all. How could this make them not jealous? For the envious, jealous and hateful eyes of the boys in the class, the night wind is all ignored. On this day, the night breeze is bathed in sunlight all the time, and the heart is free to absorb the sunlight as much as possible. Before school, he was called to the office by Kurisu Mato. Night Breeze didn't bring school tools or textbooks, and it was obvious that there was something wrong. Seeing that the Night Breeze hadn't dyed his hair yet, and he hadn't made any other troubles, Kurisu Madong felt that he still had room to turn back to the shore. Kasagano-san, can you tell the teacher why you didn't bring these necessities? There are textbooks sold around the school, so it's impossible not to bring them as long as you want to. Nightwind stared at Kuribeard Mato's face. This delicate pretty face completely awakened his forgotten memories. Kurisu Truewinter. He couldn't help but mutter, recalling that this was the teacher in We Can't Study Together. Wu Yuan Runxiang, who has been in the same class with him since junior high school, is also the heroine of it. Because it's been too long, I haven't remembered it and just feel familiar. If it weren't for the gradual development of the brain, it would be too difficult to think about. Seeing the night breeze staring at himself like this, Kurisu Madong's snow-white skin couldn't help but flush slightly. To be stared at so boldly by a student, and to say his name directly, has never been such an experience. A look of panic flashed across Kurisu's face, but it quickly stabilized. She posed as a teacher and said seriously, I'm a teacher, it's okay to call my full name, but it's too useless to be polite, Kasagano-san. And also, don't keep staring at the teacher's face, you are a very strange Kasagano-san. In the end, Kurisu Mato turned his head a little embarrassed, trying to avoid the sight of the night wind. It's just that her eyes also glanced at Nightwind's whole body from time to time, and she admired it again and again in her heart. What's going on with this beautiful muscle? Why is a high school student in such a good figure? I really want to pinch it. And this handsome appearance is too foul, it's really shy to be looked at like this. She used to think that the night breeze was very bright, but now that she looks closely, it is even better than her impression. I'm sorry, Mr. Kurisu, you're so beautiful, and I was fascinated for a while. Quote. The night wind also talks about people when he sees people, talks nonsense when he sees ghosts, and fools the past with words of praise. It's just that when the night wind said this, Kurisu Madong was even more embarrassed. It's not the first time I've been called good-looking by others, but it's the first time I've been praised so much by my own students. However, she quickly pretended to be calm and took out the file, and in order to distract herself, she picked up the file of Kasuga no Kase and looked at it. Nightwind also stood in place awkwardly, not knowing what the hell Kurisu Mato was doing in front of him. If you want to ask, ask me, and if you don't ask, I'll leave. And when he saw the family situation of the night wind, Kurashu Maiden's heart sank, and he only felt that his previous tone was heavy. She hadn't paid attention to this before, but she didn't expect the other party's family situation to be so bad. Kurisu Mato hurriedly said, Kasagano-san, if you have financial difficulties, you can find a teacher to solve it, and you don't have to worry about textbook problems. Quote. Nightwind didn't care about Kurisu Mato's words, and opened his mouth to explain. I just had an accident and lost something, so I'll take it tomorrow. And my family is not so bad, Kurisu-sensei, so that's it, I'll go first. Quote. He didn't want to continue to have a relationship with Kurashu Madong, and the few minutes of delay made him bask in the sunset for a few minutes. Seeing that the night breeze left the academic affairs office directly, Kurisu Madong looked to the side awkwardly and asked, in a low voice, Teacher Jing, did I say the wrong thing? Quote. Kurisu Mato is asking about a female teacher with long black hair, heroic posture, and beauty that is not inferior to her. Hiratsuka Jing flicked the cigarette butt in his hand, shook his head and replied, a teenager of this age is more self-respecting, and what you said in Madong is too direct. Quote. She took the file in Kurisu's hand, checked it, and silently wrote down the name of Kasuga Wild Wind. The phone is also in the bag, it's really troublesome, and I have to buy another one when I go back. Quote. Standing at the door of the shop, Nightbreeze muttered and turned around and walked back. As he was about to buy textbooks and tools, he dug his hand into his pocket and found that his mobile phone had also been thrown out of his bag. Today, I was immersed in the sun all day, and I actually forgot that my phone was gone. Would you like to borrow a phone number and talk to the dome? Nightbreeze looked at the snack shop on the side, the female owner of this shop he knew. Recently, I came over to help her move, so it should be no problem to borrow a mobile phone. It's just that when he inadvertently glanced around, he finally didn't choose to go over. It's really troublesome, I was targeted as soon as I came out, so don't implicate Ying and Sister Baxen, they just came here. Quote. The night breeze murmured, and I also sighed at the wonder of life. There seems to be some supernatural phenomenon on Okumuram's side, and the area has been expropriated. The residents who received a resettlement fee moved to Sakuragaoka, the sanctuary closest to Okumurame, one after another. There was no need for him to make time to go back now. The night breeze then quickened its pace and ran towards the sparsely populated suburban forested area. He ran faster and faster, even faster than many cars. The bat demon soaring in the sky saw all this in his eyes and couldn't help but sneer. No matter how fast the little worm runs, it can't escape. Staring at the figure of the night wind galloping, the bat demon showed a greedy look, and its long bright red tongue licked its hideous face. He smelled the night wind, the sweeter scent. Humans who run so fast must have better blood in their bodies than those social animals. The bat demon flapped its wings and began to dive downwards to approach the night wind at breakneck speed. It's coming. Coming. Before, the bat demon was still hidden, and Nightwind could only sense a pair of eyes staring at him. Now lure it yourself, and the bat demon has really taken the bait. Nightwind turned his head to look at the sky, and the huge and terrifying bat demon figure was rapidly approaching. The hideous and brutal appearance, as well as the sense of oppression that fell from the sky, made Yefeng's heart tighten. He was just an ordinary person this morning, even if he suddenly had the power to swell inside. But when facing the real monster, a little fear inevitably rose in my mind. The bat demon was far larger than he had seen before, and a single palm was enough to grab him like a toy. Looking at the night breeze below, the bat demon let out a wild laugh. Ha ha ha. Fear of humanity, so your blood will be tastier. The bat demon's wild laughter made Nightwind quickly calm down. Fear is the food of the devil, and the more you fear the other party, the stronger it becomes. It's just a demon, and it's nothing compared to what I know to be a more terrifying existence. Nightwind convinced himself inwardly, and when the bat demon grabbed it with one claw, he slammed on the ground with his right foot with a sharp break. Bang bang bang. The asphalt-paved road made a series of explosions, and the legs of the Nightwind sank a few inches into the ground, and the galloping figure forcibly stopped. The Nightwind ducked on its back, its massive claws sweeping overhead. Phew. Hideous claws slashed in front of Nightwind's eyes, only a few centimeters away from his face. The bat demon who pounced in the air almost fell on the road due to inertia. He hurriedly flapped his bat wings, and with a lift he flew into the air again. The bat demon spun around in the air, staring angrily at the Nightwind below. Despicable food, I eat you as your blessing, you dare to hide. He lightly touched an inconspicuous fist mark on his waist and abdomen, and continued to speak resentfully. My injuries were caused by you humans, so use your human blood to heal them. Me, you monster. Nightwind scolded back coldly, his eyes locked on the bat demon. He didn't want to run anymore, and there weren't many people in the area, so it was good for him to fight. Demons can recover by swallowing blood, which is good for limiting the opponent's means of recovery. The sun is about to set, and it is best to kill this bat demon before it sets. After entering the combat state, the cells in Nightwind's body seemed to be awakened. He didn't know if he had been basking in the sun for a day and would be able to defeat the bat demon in front of him. But Night Breeze knows that he has no way out now. Even if you really want to die, you will definitely make this demon pay. Nightwind's eyes became more and more fierce, and all that remained in his mind was the thought of killing the bat demon in front of him. This is the most primitive survival instinct: fight, kill, survive. You actually showed me such a fierce expression, human, you completely angered me. The bat demon noticed the change in Nightwind's mood, and what made him angry was that Nightwind, a human, dared to fight against him. It's an insult to him that a mere food dares to shout at him. The two eyes of the bat demon were so angry that they were about to bulge out of their sockets. The hideous face had a large mouth split, and the irregular fine fangs were exposed to the air, emitting bursts of foul odor. The bat demon swooped down and fell from midair to the ground in an instant. Boom! Half of the asphalt highway was shattered by the potential energy of the bat demon's landing. Nightwind's heart sank, he couldn't do such a terrifying destructive power. The vicious claws swept by, and the smoke and dust were blown away by a gust of hurricane. The bat demon's massive body, which was nearly 4 meters tall, completely appeared in front of him. There is no trace of miscellaneous blood smell. You are the most innocent human person I have ever smelled of blood, ha ha ha. Quote. The bat demon sniffed the scent of Nightwind's body, and instantly stretched out his claws and grabbed at Nightwind. Nightwind jumped up and jumped 3 meters high, dodging the claws of the bat demon again. As it fell, Nightwind reached out and grabbed the bat demon's fingers with both palms. The muscles and flesh of his whole body swelled a few points, and he continued to squeeze the power in his body, forcibly shaking the behemoth in front of him. With just a finger, the Nightwind lifted the 4-meter-tall bat demon. Drink. Quote. The Nightwind, which was so hard that the muscles of his whole body were violent, slammed the bat demon and smashed it down against the ground. The bat demon, who didn't have time to react at all, crashed down his entire body, shaking the ground within a radius of several meters. Nightwind took a few breaths, only to feel that his whole body was hot, and the strength of his body was still rising. At this moment, Nightwind's eyes were full of battle fever, and there was no longer any fear. The bat demon was still in a daze, and he couldn't understand why a human could have such strange powers. As soon as he propped up his hands and pulled his body out of the dirt, he saw that the Night Breeze had come to his hands. Get down for me! The Nightwind shouted, and slammed his left foot forward on the ground, gathering all his strength on his right foot by inertia. A whip leg slammed the air, and the right leg that slashed like a tomahawk, slashed, at the joint of the bat demon's right arm. Click! A crisp sound was heard, and the bat demon's right arm bent inward irregularly. Moribai's bone spurs pierced the flesh and exposed it to the air. The stinking blood sprayed out like money, staining the ground around him red, and also splashing the Night Breeze. Bah! Bah bah! The Nightwind spat a few mouthfuls of phlegm and spat out the blood that had splashed into his mouth. The bat demon, who was enduring the severe pain in his right arm, angrily waved his left hand to grab the Nightwind. Phew! The bat demon with a claw swooped down again. The Nightwind, which was still close at hand, jumped several meters away in a breath. It's too slow, you're too slow, demon. Nightwind sneered and taunted the bat demon in front of him. He has gradually adapted to combat, and with his super reflexes and speed, he can easily dodge the attacks of the bat demon. As soon as the words fell, the night wind slammed on the ground, and with a roar, the figure leapt in front of the bat demon. In the bat demon's shocked gaze, the night wind kicked him the head. The bat demon, which was nearly 4 meters tall, only felt a huge force attacking. The unformed facial features on his face were deeply sunken, and his body was also kicked out. After rolling on the ground for a few laps and knocking down a large tree on the side of the road, the bat demon leaned against the stump before he stopped flying upside down. Beating the reservoir dogs, the night wind is not ready to give the bat demon a respite. Ignoring the vehicles on the road, he approached the bat demon at breakneck speed. Smelling the scent of the night wind approaching, the bat demon sitting on the ground quickly grinned his mouth. He spat out the wriggling flesh of his mouth, forming a shape that resembled a cannon barrel. Hiss. The bat demon took a sharp breath and inhaled all the dust that covered it into its abdomen. His chest bulged high, and a huge amount of gas compressed and accumulated in his body. Not good. The approaching night wind's face changed drastically, and he was about to hide sideways. And before his speed exceeded the speed of sound, the next second the bat demon spat out his accumulated energy. Poof. The piercing sound waves are mixed with the impact of the air current, and the sonic cannon that converges is roaring with overwhelming momentum. The layers of ground were lifted by the impact and shattered by the sound waves, and many vehicles were also thrown out like toys. The night wind that was hit head-on was like a 10,000-ton blow all over his body, and in an instant it flew out like a cannonball. He kept rolling on the ground, plowed out a ravine nearly 100 meters long, and flew deep into the forest without a trace. An entire forest in front of the bat demon is now blown down in a radial shape. Patches of trees were shattered by sonic cannons, and their roots were uprooted with vigor. Seeing this, the bat demon didn't think that night wind could survive his sonic cannon, and stood up leisurely. Let's recover first, and then look for his body later. The bat demon grabbed a car and tore open the tin with his fingers like a can. In the driver's seat, a beautiful young woman was sitting. She had just come back from a walk around the beach to relax, and who knew that she would encounter such a situation. Looking at the iron sheet above her head being torn apart, the hideous and terrifying face of the bat demon completely appeared in her sight. Babbling. Evil, demons. She let out a terrible scream, terrified, and tried to escape, but to no avail. It's not virgin blood, but it's pure, and it should be delicious. The bat demon opened his mouth to speak, and then 2 sharp fingers grabbed the young woman in the driver's seat. You can't do that, ugly. Guys. The sound of the night wind came from far to near, and the bat demon couldn't help but stop his movements when he heard this voice, and turned his head in horror to look in the direction of the smoke. A scarlet glimmer swayed in the smoke and dust, but the red light loomed like a demon from hell in the blink of an eye. In the suffocating atmosphere, the figure of night wind appeared at the end of the ruins of the road, and it was only 20 meters away from the bat demon. Even the woman in the sedan stopped screaming at this moment and looked at the night breeze that suddenly appeared in shock. His clothes were torn, and only a tattered trench coat hung over his shoulders. Blood was dripping from his eyes, the corners of his mouth, his ears and nose, and his internal organs were almost shattered by the sonic cannon just now. The remnants of the setting sun shone on night wind's body, and the wounds all over his body healed at an extremely fast speed. The rejuvenated flesh showed greater strength, and his eyes flickered red. That blood-stained face also pulled out a sunny smile at this moment, but it gave the bat demon the illusion of a man-devouring beast. Such a strange scene was reflected in the eyes of the bat demon, and he couldn't help but take a step back in fear, and he couldn't help but feel fear in his heart. Even if he knew that he shouldn't be afraid of humans as a demon, such emotions were not something he could control. The frightened bat demon threw the car in his hand at the night wind, and the night wind held the whole car up with both hands in the middle of the woman's scream. Layers of invisible ripples swept through the car's body, so that the night wind's hands did not pierce the car against the physical rules. Bioforce field. One of the innate abilities of Kryptonians was thoroughly activated in battle. Although he is not yet able to fly through a bioforce field, he can also extend the bioforce field and lift heavy objects on his own in violation of the rules of physics. The woman in the sedan was frightened, and watched in shock as the night breeze lowered the whole sedan to the side of the road. Then she looked at the back of the night wind, and saw him rushing towards the bat demon without stopping. A scarlet glimmer flickered in Nightwind's pupils, only to dim eventually. After all, he only basked in the sun for a day, and the energy stored in his body was too little. Most of it has just been used to heal the body, and it is already extremely difficult for the heat vision ability to awaken. The bat demon forcibly suppressed the fear in his heart and swung his left fist into the Nightwind. In the face of this blow, Nightwind did not dodge again, but the muscles of his legs tensed and suddenly stopped. With a powerful inertial impact, Nightwind twisted like a bow and arrow, and its fist blasted through the air like a heavy cannon, hammering into the bat demon's left fist. Bang! The moment the two fists collided, the amazing energy was discharged outward. There was a crisp sound of bones breaking, and the bat demon's left arm bone was pierced, and the flesh was completely destroyed like the right arm. Ho hoo. Hoo. Wow. Whoa. Nightwind's right arm also twisted and hung down irregularly, and the intense pain made his expression twist. But there was more on his face, and he still laughed wildly. At the same time, the bat demon quickly retreated, trying to reuse the old trick to use the sonic cannon. Nightwind, who had been taught a lesson, did not give him a second chance. Ignoring the pain in his body, he ran to the bat demon with both legs, and slammed his left fist into his chest. Poof! Like a steel needle piercing a balloon, the terrifying force instantly shattered the bat demon's sternum and part of its internal organs. The bat demon's newly bulging chest cavity burst open in an instant, and a huge amount of blood and organ fragments splattered from the wound blasted out by Nightwind's punch. The bat demon, bat-sharded, vomited blood and fragments of flesh and fell backwards with weakness. The Nightwind jumped on the bat demon without the slightest hint of mercy. Pick up your still moving left fist and hammer it towards the bat demon's skull. Bang bang bang. The muffled sound of fists to flesh kept coming out, and the picture of flesh and blood flying made several onlookers on the road divert their attention. By the time the night breeze stopped, the bat demon's head in front of him had turned into a puddle of broken bones and mud. Ding! Ding! Kill the bat demon. Loot to obtain. Super sense of smell, organ ability, batwing, organ ability. Note: at present, there is a high probability of plundering organ abilities, and there is a small probability of plundering special abilities, which can be enhanced by upgrading the panel, and obtaining new functions will increase the probability of plundering success. Ding! Plus 500. The panel's message appears in front of Nightwind's eyes. He glanced weakly, and suddenly understood that the true ability of Goldfinger should be this. Loot the ability by killing the enemy. Quote. Nightwind muttered to himself, clicking on the two abilities that had been collected into the panel warehouse. Super sense of smell. The sense of smell is greatly enhanced after fusion. Bat wings. After fusion, a pair of bat wings will grow, which can be used to fly. The first one was fine, but when I saw the second Nightwind, I was instantly speechless. If you come out with a pair of ugly bat wings, you might as well kill me. It seems that this organ ability can't be fused casually, otherwise something might grow on his body. Nightwind didn't choose to try to fuse immediately, he was still ready to study it later and try again. The night breeze that came back to its senses stood on the corpse of the bat demon, glancing at the few onlookers behind him in the afterglow of the setting sun. Under the orange and yellow light, his perfect body, like an ancient Greek sculpture, became more and more magnificent. Many people knelt down on the spot, clasped their hands together as if they had seen a god, and kept kowtowing and praying. Ignoring the actions of these people, Nightwind swept his gaze to the woman who was staring at him in the distance. With that dark brown hair and beautiful face, she looks a lot like the world of Xuan Temple in the class, so it can't be her mother. Unlike the world of Cyan-Ji, her hair is more flat and drooping, rather than curly at the back of her head like the world. Night Breeze, who has excellent eyesight, can see that the other party has no makeup or lipstick, and her young appearance is like a girl in her 20s. The figure is also very good, the curves are very graceful, but the simple dress covers the proud mountains. After nodding slightly at her and glaring at her twice, Nightwind turned around and ran wildly towards Sakuragaoka Castle. He is very weak now, but he still has the strength to run. Under the light of the afterglow, the wound from the left fist healed quickly, and the fracture of the right arm also recovered at a very fast speed. It's just that he looks miserable now, but fortunately, he awakened the biological force field at the last moment, otherwise he wouldn't even be able to keep this pants. My eardrum has just been punctured, and I don't know how long it will take to recover. Quote. The night breeze patted his ears, but still didn't hear anything. He was also glad that he hadn't awakened his super hearing at that time, otherwise he probably wouldn't have been able to stand up. And after the night wind left, the Shuan temple who was staring at his back on the side of the highway was in a trance, and then he came back to his senses. That boy, is he nodding at me? Shuan temple muttered, and there was still a look of shock in his eyes that he had seen before. It was the first time she had experienced such an event in her life. The former gun demon landed and did not affect the city of Duomo. She could only learn about the horror of that event on TV. After experiencing it firsthand, the fear in Saionji Suko's heart was overwhelming. Even though he hadn't really seen the face of the night wind, Saionji Sukuko had a deep memory of his figure silhouette in his heart. At this time, an afterimage passed, and the next moment, a magical girl in a pink costume holding a staff suddenly appeared in front of Shuan Temple. She glanced at the battle and locked onto the bat demon's headless corpse. It's the demon who was punched by me and escaped unexpectedly, who killed him. Chiyoda Dao observed the bat demon's corpse and quickly judged from the injuries and the scene of destruction that the bat demon was killed by a man with his fists. That man should have resisted a sonic cannon, and then he still had the strength to kill this bat demon, which is quite powerful. Quote. She sighed and left without saying a word. And a few minutes after Chiyoda Dao left, a member of the public security monster team came over to deal with the endgame. Ah, this magical girl is completely different from what she imagined. After all, magical girls are also transcendental, unlike us ordinary people. Quote. The pink figure. It should be a magical girl who guards the city of many demons. We just need to report the information here to our superiors, and don't think much about the rest. Quote. The captain scolded the chatting subordinates, and several of them continued their work to evacuate the crowd and collect the demon corpses. Plop. As the night breeze passed by the riverbank as it was walking back, it went down to wash away the blood and dust from its body. Draped over his tattered coat, he sat down on the shore and rested. Now that the sky was completely dark, and without the sun's rays, his exerted physical strength could not recover as quickly as before. Within a few minutes, the fracture and external wound were basically healed, and the eardrum was healed and repaired. Quote. Night breeze sensed his physical condition and had basically returned to a normal level. However, the injuries to the internal organs have not yet fully recovered, and it is estimated that it will take a while. Tick-tock. The rain was dripping, and the night wind stood up strongly. The house leak happened to rain overnight, so I have to go back and rest quickly. Quote. Just as he was about to leave, a shrill chainsaw sound reached his ears. Buzz. It's not loud, like a small chainsaw starting. The night breeze followed the sound and saw a fat orange puppy, staring at him vigilantly. It has a chainsaw on its head and a tail like a pull ring. Seeing the night wind looking at it, the chainsaw demon immediately let out a threatening cry. It's just that it barks like this in the appearance of a puppy now, and it only feels cute in the eyes of night wind. Look what I saw, a cute dog. Quote. Nightwind said happily, and the body still honestly didn't dare to approach. The chainsaw demon looks weak, but he's also strong on the outside now. If this cute dog really had the strength to kill him, then his death would be hilarious. The fear of not being able to do the Nightwind was obviously unnecessary, and within a few seconds, the chainsaw demon took a step and fell limply on the lawn. It stuck out its tongue, and the chainsaw on its head stopped spinning. It can be seen that it has completely lost its strength, and it is more than 10 times weaker than he is now. Sticky blood flowed from the wound in its abdomen, staining the grass on the ground red. If Nightwind doesn't make any moves, it probably won't be long before it bleeds to death. After thinking about it for a few seconds, Nightwind took a step forward. You're going to die, why don't we make a deal? Nightwind leaned over to look at the chainsaw demon and stretched out his left arm to make a deal. The chainsaw demon looked at Nightwind viciously and got up from the ground tremblingly, opening his little mouth to reveal 2 canine teeth. Click. It bit down, and the only 2 little tiger teeth were almost broken. The pain-stricken chainsaw demon fell again, looking at Nightwind with innocent and confused eyes. Thanks for watching.